Hi there. Today's story is about rubber tapping. On weekends, I used to follow my mother when she went to tap rubber. I was then 10 years old, I think. Retinue Estate, 2 miles from town, Changkejong Road. All right. Well, we woke up very early in the morning, so my mother prepared rice and coffee and put into this a carrier, for us uh, to eat later in the morning. All right. So she had two pails with her, and I was carrying a small basket. The basket was intended, to keep coagulated latex rubber, which we peel from the trees. All right. So I would keep that. So she had two pails, and I would be bringing the food, and there was a bowl to carry the latex. All right, we of course we went on foot. By the time we get to the place, it was a good half an hour walk into the plantation. We had to wear shoes. We had to wear shoes, and we had a light. I don't have any light. A sort of a kerosene light, on my head. And my mother also had another one on her head. So to pick our way in the darkness. You just imagine about 5 o'clock it was pitchy dark. But then again, we were not alone. We walked in a group. But then when we came to the plantation, to the place uh, to tap rubber, then we separate. We walk to different areas. Okay, so we start before my mother tapped the tree. She would pull the latex, from halfway. It's halfway around the tree in a spiral, goes down. She pull a latex, and then sometimes she pass to me, and I'll put into my bag, uh, rattan basket bag. All right. So she would tap the tree. What she did was, if we have this kind of a tapping knife, she would just slide the two hands on the bark. This is something, it has to be very skillful. You cannot hurt the bark. So she, you know very skillfully, she yeah, cut, follow the same cut, the same movement, the same cut, the same groove, and the latex will flow. And she will adjust the cup. Probably before that, I have to scoop the cup because the latex lump, and then the lump which coagulated the night before. So I'll scoop it, pour the extra water out, yeah, and then put it, and the latex will drip. The latex dripping will be for at least 4 5 hours. Okay, in a day, my mother tapped about between 350 to 400 trees, depending on how many trees there were. But I think it was 1 acre. How much she earned was very meager, not much. But anyway, so by the time we finish, okay, we should be start tapping at about 6. By the time we were done, 2 hours, would have been almost 9 o'clock, 2.5 hours, 3 hours, 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock, just imagine, finish, tapping 400 trees, from 6, 7, 8, 7, 8, 9, almost 3 hours. Yeah. All right. And we wait for the latex to drip into the cup, you know. Okay, meanwhile, then we rest for our food. Food was just rice, poor, very poor rice. We shared. My mother and I, we shared. So rice, the ingredients could be leftover from last night, or if there wasn't any, so we'll just mix the rice. We just pour black coffee into the rice, you know, and eat just like soup. Surprising, because I don't think many of you have even heard of this before. Black coffee and rice, you know, and that's how we had our was breakfast, I think, or yeah, it was breakfast at about 10 o'clock, 9 something, while waiting for the latex to drip into, yeah, to fill up the cup. So we rested to could be at least, I think, 45 minutes we have to rest for the latex to flow into the cup. But then again, if it threatens to rain, then we have to collect in a hurry. We have this password, in the estate. Whenever, rain was expected, if there were drops coming down, then we would, we would pass the message on, just like, signal. We would howl like the, ooh, the kind of sound, like a wolf, we will howl like a wolf, and then you can see the message going from place to place, like the Indian signal those days. So that was, yeah. Once we received the call, the cry of a wolf, ooh, we knew the rain was imminent. So we had to collect this latex in a hurry. So one day it was really drizzling, so we had to collect in a hurry. And in so doing, some of the latex will trip over the place. We had to just imagine the collecting of the latex of 400 trees will take maybe probably half an hour at least. But because of the rain, we had to do double fast time. Anyway, having collected that, the rain started to be to to fall. Become heavier and heavier. The clouds were gathering, yeah, and the rain, you know, became even heavier. So we had to collect the latex very fast. So I had to cut trees, as like these yam trees, yam leaves, and cover the latex to protect water from seeping into the tank. But you can't do much, because it's such a heavy downpour, the rain. By the time we were done, you know, the thing was almost overflowed. 2 pails. You know why we had to keep water or rainwater from going into the tank where the latex was? Because of the density. You know what? When I'll tell you later. Yeah, why it's so important that the thing had to be protected. You know. Okay, so well, we had to walk back in the rain. We covered it with leaves and we cooked yam, and then we had to walk back to the factory. Okay, so once we returned to the factory, then we have to put the pail one side, and then there would be a clerk. It would be, well, unsmiling clerk, a fat fellow who is seated there and at the table, and he will have then we see he has a hydrometer with him. A hydrometer is something like a thermometer where to measure the density of the latex. So my mother and I would be waiting. The 2 pails would be there. All right. And so he would just scoop, from the pail, and pour into his beaker, beaker, all right. And then he will put his hydrometer, the hydrometer, it's something like a buoy where you see in a river, where it stands by itself, where people tie their boats. This is a ballast where the will float by itself. All right, so it stays like that. So the thing is, if your latex is dense, it's very thick, the buoyancy, the thing will float higher a bit. But if there is more water, that's, in other words, less dense in your latex, the thing will sink a bit down. Then he will start writing. So the thing is, if yours there's too much water, then he will not disqualify. He will know that you have mixed a lot of water, has been mixed, rainwater or whatever. But there are occasions, sometimes people type, they may even try to fool somebody, fool the management. They will tap less trees, and the pails were not full, half full. So what they did was just pour water. They thought they could get away with it, but the hydrometer will tell you the story. So if your latex is less dense, you get points, less, minus. So in a day, those days I don't think my mother earned much. Maybe $2 a day, the kind of thing. But then again, so the lump, we could also weigh, besides this latex, we also weigh the lump latex, dry latex, that is for a few cents. So having said that, the two pails of latex were dumped into the central tank, and then it goes somewhere else. That after that, we just go to the tap and wash up shoes, pail, and everything. Then we go home, go back to the house. By the time we get back to the house, all said and done, it would have been about 12 o'clock. So we're not shy. So it's half done. So these rubber tappers, our job was only half a day. So meanwhile, I would be in the state as my mother was doing her tapping. I would be gathering wood, firewood. Those dry rubber trees, I can use a hook and hook them down. So you won't injure the tree, because rubber tree branches are quite brittle. And when they are going to fall, all you have to do is hook, and it will fall by itself. The branches are very brittle. And sometimes I go pick mushrooms from rotten fallen trees, especially rubber trees. Rubber trees, mushroom are edible. And there are many things I could, like many. I used to, collect, pick vegetables from the drain, kangkong, and all those things. I knew when I was a kid how to, identify, vegetables that were edible when I was a kid. And besides that, I would do my fishing. I would go around. When the tapping was done, I would just bring my rod, and fishing. But rod was just a bamboo, just a bamboo and a nylon string. That's all. Okay, this is the day, one day tapping. In a month, I think $2. She would earn maybe $60 to $70, $60 to $70 a month. A meager income, but that was what it was, estate life. But of course, for the parents, it's a bit difficult. For me, well, it was a life of adventure. I love. So after tapping, I would be around, catching fish, catching birds with friends, going around. So I spent a lot of my time in this estate, running around, fooling around monsoon drains, Okay, with friends, especially my Indian friends. That was a life I led when I was 10 years old. Okay, so much for now. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.